Hey Falcons fans! Week 2 of the preseason has given us a clearer picture of who's been stepping up, and there are 4 players who really made their mark. Before we get into today's exclusive analysis, be sure to hit that like button so you don't miss out on the latest Falcons news. We have some interesting updates coming out of Week 2 of the preseason, and you're going to want to know all about them. Okay, let's get started. The Falcons may have fallen short against the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday, but one of our smallest players had one of our biggest performances. And first on our list is Natron Brooks, our 6'1", 170-pound cornerback who showed everyone that size isn't everything when you have heart and determination. Picture this. Brooks lines up on the left side of our secondary, with his eyes fixed on Ravens quarterback Devin Leary. As Leary passes the ball to tight end Kadir Ismail, Brooks breaks the play. Now, on paper, Brooks is at a disadvantage here. Ismail is 6 feet 4 inches and 215 pounds, a physical mismatch if ever there was one. But football isn't played on paper, right? Brooks drops his pads and launches himself at Ismail, knocking the ball out and sending the tight end scrambling backward. The Falcons' sideline went crazy, and while we didn't recover the fumble, we did force the Ravens to punt from midfield, giving our offense a chance with just over 3 minutes left on the clock. That hit was just one of 13 tackles Brooks made during the game, and it's a perfect example of who this guy is. After the game, Brooks said, "I know most people look at my size and think, let's tackle this guy, but it's like I have small man syndrome. I know people are going to try to tackle me, but I have the dog in me to just show you guys, like, okay, I'm physical. I'm still physical at 169 pounds. Now, let's talk about Brooks' journey. Last year, he arrived as an undrafted free agent out of the University of Southern Mississippi and made a name for himself during the preseason. He finished with 14 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a couple of pass breakups in 3 games. But despite that strong showing, he didn't make the 53-man roster. Instead, he spent the entire season on the Falcons practice squad, grinding it out and hoping for another chance. This year, Brooks is getting that chance, and he's not going to let it slip away. He's hitting hard, talking big, and enjoying every moment out there. He himself said, "It's just my love for the game. I love the game, and I love what I do. So every time I step on that field, I'm going to have that energy and that joy. I'm going to try to bring that to my brothers. Whether it's preseason or regular season, have fun doing it." Not everybody gets the chance to do that. Some people wish they were in our position to do that. Brooks isn't just dealing with a new opportunity. He's also adjusting to a new coaching staff. With Raheem Morris, Jerry Gray, and new secondary coach Justin Hood leading the way, Brooks is surrounded by a wealth of knowledge and experience. It's been an adjustment, but Brooks is embracing the change, especially the shift in defensive philosophy. He's no longer playing in the press man system favored by former defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen. Instead, he's working in an off-zone scheme that allows him to use his quickness and instincts to make plays. This year, we have the ability to play off a lot and read the quarterback. I feel like that's my skill set, being smaller, Brooks said. I'm a twitchy guy, so I can get the vision break, view the quarterback, and I feel like that's the biggest thing in the scheme. Instead of playing press man a lot, you can get out, bait the quarterback, get a read on the quarterback, instead of just pressing every play. That's a big difference for me to make more plays on the ball. Now, this transition hasn't been without its challenges. Brooks has had to retrain his eyes, focusing on reading the quarterback and reacting faster. He admits that when he gets beat in practice, it's usually because his eyes are just a bit too slow, making him a step late to the ball. But on Saturday, he was anything but slow. He found his rhythm early and capitalized on every opportunity that came his way. Corner is a game of getting the feeling and getting the flow of the game, Brooks explained. Once you get the flow, I feel like the plays will come to you at corner. So, it just felt good getting to start out there today and being able to show what I can do. Now, with one more preseason game to go against the Jacksonville Jaguars this Friday, Brooks knows he's still in the fight for a roster spot. Atlanta held 37 players out of Saturday's game, including 35 healthy scratches who seem to have their spots on the final roster secured. Among those are 5 cornerbacks: A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes, D. Alford, Clark Phillips III, and Antonio Hamilton Sr., with the Falcons likely to carry 6 corners. Brooks is in a battle with Anthony Johnson and Kevin King for that final spot, but after his performance in Baltimore, Brooks has put himself right in the mix. Even though he tries not to think about it too much, Brooks admitted that making the roster is always on his mind during the preseason. "I just give God the glory," Brooks said. "I go out every day to practice and compete. I go out on game day and make the plays I can and always do my best to know what happened. I give God the glory, and it's his decision in the end." But let's face it, Falcons fans, after what we saw on Saturday, that decision just got a lot harder for Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot. Brooks has shown that he's not just a practice squad player. he has the heart and talent to compete at this level. Next up is Chris Blair. If you recall, Blair got off to a rough start last week, fumbling the ball early against the Dolphins, which had some people questioning whether he'd even make the roster. But fast forward to this week, and Blair is making us rethink that opinion. Once again, he was Atlanta's best performer in the air, proving to be the most reliable receiver in a group that was struggling. Sure, there are still some issues with his routes, and that fumble is something he needs to work on. But if you're looking for a fifth or sixth option at wide receiver, Blair is excelling. Now, with Zach Robinson's offense in mind, depth at wide receiver will be crucial. Since Julio Jones left, the Falcons haven't had the kind of depth they need. We have a solid starting trio in Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McLeod, but after those three, who do you trust? Blair and rookie Casey Washington are starting to emerge as the most consistent options. So, it's safe to say that keeping an eye on free agency and upcoming roster cuts should continue to be a priority for Atlanta. Next, let's talk about Jase McClellan. This rookie running back is making waves, and after his performance on Saturday, it's easy to see why. With 11 carries for 55 yards and the team's only touchdown, Jase was the bright spot in Atlanta's running game. Credit to the Falcons for keeping Allgeier and Robinson out of the game to protect them, and kudos to Jase for stepping up and taking advantage of the opportunity. All of the big plays on the ground have come from him, and he's shown a real knack for fighting through contact. Now, while the Falcons will likely carry 3 running backs on the roster, don't expect the third back to see much action on the field, especially in a passing-heavy offense like Zach Robinson's. But that's where Jase fits in perfectly. Based on his draft pick and his performance thus far, it's pretty clear he was the right fit for this role, and after outperforming Carlos Washington Jr., it looks like the job is his to lose. With Tyler Allgeier unlikely to get a second contract with the Falcons, it will be interesting to see how Jase develops and what role he can grow into over the next few seasons. And here's an interesting one for you. Michael Penix Jr. How does a player who hasn't even put on pads make this list? It's all about what the Falcons' decision to keep him out of the game says about their confidence in him. By not starting Penix in his second preseason game, the Falcons are sending a clear message. They believe in this kid. They're so confident in where Penix is in his development that they're not risking him in a preseason game, which is honestly frustrating for us fans who had to watch Paddock and Heineke struggle there. It was a hot topic in the media and among fans, and the decision to sit him out didn't sit well with everyone, and the Falcons took a lot of flack for it. But it's a great sign for Penix. There's no competition for the backup role. He's a sure bet, and Atlanta is happy with where he is. This move says a lot about their belief in him and how protective they will be going forward. With Kirk Cousins now in his 30s and recovering from an injury that will sideline him for the 2023 season, it's easy to see why the Falcons are being so cautious. Cousins has a great track record of staying on the field, but as quarterbacks age, they typically don't get healthier. So protecting both the starter and the backup in these unimportant preseason games is a smart move. This shows a lot of faith in Penix and gives a hint of how Raheem Morris views these early preseason reps. It will be fascinating to see how the team handles the quarterback position in the preseason finale. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of these 4 players? Do you agree with who stood out this week, or do you have someone else in mind? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Go Falcons!